Sorry about that. Oh my god, it's just this fucking StreamYard again. This is the worst piece of shit software ever. I swear to God. Let's try that again. Jesus Christ Almighty. Never paid for this absolute garbage. Yes, thank you to the 6 million of you all telling me the sound is off. Believe it or not, I can tell. Right. What do they say? What do they say? Once a snake, always a fucking snake, eh? Once a snake, always a snake. Conor the Eggman Benn, yeah? Also now known to many as, yeah? And you know what, by the way, Bill Hogpan? You're absolutely fucking dead on, by the way. Conor Benn is an absolute dead ringer, yeah? For Simon Phoenix from Demolition Man. I'm sure you've seen me make that same joke, yeah? On Twitter, and you're now ripping me off. If not, then great minds, yeah, certainly work alike. But if you look at the state of Conor Benn, yeah, in this clip right now with Zuffa boxing, look at this. Look, he's an absolute, yeah, absolute to a T, to a T. Conor Benn, aka Simon Phoenix from Demolition Man. Anyway, this fool done turned up here at the UFC offices with blonde, slick back hair, looking like Rico Suave. He's done screwed his man Eddie Hearn in the back. That's what it's sounding like at the minute. Now, let me just tell you something right now, yeah. The news is very limited. This is breaking news. All right, this is literally breaking news from about 35 to 40 minutes ago. So we don't know all the details. But let me tell you something right now, yeah? It looks like Demolition Man here, aka Conor Benn, yeah? The man who Eddie Hearn spent, how many years did Eddie Hearn spend defending this man? Do you remember what Eddie Hearn said, yeah? Remember what Eddie Hearn said? Eddie Hearn said that the reason why this man failed 2 drugs tests in the space of about 3 months for the same performance-enhancing drug, right, was down to a misunderstanding. Press 1 if I'm correct, press 2 if I'm wrong. Am I right about that? Press 1 if I'm correct, press 2 if I'm wrong. Eddie Hearn done spent, yeah, the best part of 2 or 3 years putting his entire reputation on the line for this blonde-haired Simon Phoenix lookalike. It's this blonde-haired Rico Suave look. I don't want to be. Actually, I was going to say something there, but I don't want the Race Relations Act to be thrown at me. But it just goes to show you, right, how fucking stupid of an individual that Edward John Hearn is. Because this was always gonna bite him in the ass, in my opinion. Like I said before, you're dealing with a guy, right, in Conor Benn. I've got to be very careful what I say here. But you're dealing with a guy in Conor Benn who, let's be honest with you, right? He has a track record of being very economical with the truth, shall we say. Do you think that's a fair cut? Mark Stanton says, does clomiphene make your hair white? Look, let me show you something about how fucking dodgy this is. This is shocking, right? If you look at yesterday's announcement, right, for DAZN, going back to Matchroom. So Matchroom just signed a 5-year deal with DAZN, right? And it was announced all over social media. And Conor Benn's picture was literally, yeah, front and center on the here we go. I've got it here for you right here. If you just bear with me right here. Conor Benn was on the front and center for Matchroom's so-called deal with DAZN. They just signed a 5-year deal with DAZN this week. Conor Benn and Anthony Joshua, both front and center. The irony here is that Conor Benn and Anthony Joshua, both front and center, as we're about to show you right now. And yet it looks like neither of them will be fighting on DAZN going forwards. So if you look at the screen here, you can see, look, this is Matchroom's announcement, yeah, this week, that they've signed a 5-year extension with DAZN. You can see there's Anthony Joshua. He's fighting on Netflix because as I told you, his real promoter is Turki Alalshikh, not Eddie Hearn, as I've been telling you all the time. Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing are promoters in name only for Anthony Joshua, right? It's almost like when, do you remember when Tyson Fury signed for Top Rank, yeah? And Frank Warren was in the background. It was almost like that kind of deal. And I'm pretty sure, look, there you go, look, Conor Benn, as you can see here. He hasn't got an egg in his mouth for a change, all right? But if you look at Conor Benn, top right-hand corner, he's also being displayed and shown here. As Matchroom and DAZN announced a historic 5-year contract extension. Well, I can tell you now, there you go. You've got the two guys here that are front and center in this contract extension ain't going to be fucking fighting, yeah, on DAZN no more. I mean, if you believe that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua are going to fight on DAZN, you're probably some kind of idiot, but we'll come to that a bit later on. So, yeah, that's the breaking news. Technique, who's come late, yeah, and Alistair Ninian showing up late as usual. So, Conor Benn's done shafted his man Eddie Hearn, and he's gone and signed for Dana White and Zuffa Boxing. So, again, this move, and guys, get your comments in, we'll read them out, right? But what do you guys think? For me, this move is totally in tune with the career of Conor Benn, right? He's never been a British champion. He's never been a Commonwealth champion, right? Has he ever been an English champion, Conor Benn? Like, what titles has he actually fought for? I'm trying to think. Don't think he ever fought for an English. Don't think he ever fought for a Commonwealth. Don't think he ever fought for a British. And I don't think he ever fought for a European. And I also don't think he's fought for a world title. So this move, right, Conor Benn to Zuffa, is just Conor Benn all over the place. It's classic Conor Benn. It's shortcutting. Press 1 if you agree with me on that. Press 2 if you can disagree with me. His whole career, right? If you look at Conor Benn, right? Conor Benn's whole career has been nothing but a shortcut. He shortcutted his way onto a major promotion in Matchroom Boxing because his dad was famous. Am I right about that or am I wrong? Let's just tell the truth. Let's just fucking tell the truth and let's tell it how it is, right? Conor Benn shortcutted himself onto a national promoter because his dad surname was Ben, or because his surname was Ben. That's the only reason he ever got picked up by Matchroom Boxing, right? He never got picked up by Matchroom Boxing because of any discernible talent, because he didn't have any. He had heart. Conor Benn had plenty of heart, but he didn't have any real talent, right? Certainly not the kind of talent that gets you signed up by Matchroom Boxing. So he shortcutted his way onto live television, right? He had a couple of amateur fights in Australia, right? Big up George C in the chat. Big up George C. He had a couple of amateur fights in Australia, and then he pretty much jumped and signed with Matchroom Boxing, and he's been on TV ever since. So that's the first shortcut. The second shortcut comes for me, and we'll talk about this later on in my opinion, where he gets into a fight with this French kickboxer, Cedric Payernode, right? Do you remember, right? He gets involved in this fight with, and he gets dropped in this fight 3 times and has his jaw broken. Now, in that fight, he showed absolutely tremendous heart and tremendous bottle. Like, one thing, right, you'll never ever hear me accuse Conor Benn of is lacking heart. Like, you've never ever heard me criticize Conor Benn lacking heart, lacking bottle. Like, Conor Benn has bottle for absolute days. Conor Benn's problem is the abject lack of ability and abject lack of talent. So anyway, he goes up against a journeyman in French kickboxer, right, Cedric Payernode, right? He then gets dropped 3 times, right? He gets dropped 3 times and has his jaw broken in that fight. He then disappears, didn't he? Was it that one, or was it after the rematch of Payernode? But he then disappears for a certain period of time, right? Again, let me know in the chat, am I right or am I wrong? He then disappears and goes AWOL for a certain period of time. He comes back after being AWOL looking like the absolute Terminator. Am I right about that? Have I got my timeline right, or have I got my timeline wrong? 1 minute he's going life and death with Journeyman, yeah? He's going life and death with Journeyman on the undercards of Matchroom Next Gen, yeah? In the middle of York Hall. This guy's far from a superstar. He goes missing after that fight, or after the rematch of Payernode. He goes missing. All of a sudden he comes back. And he looks like the Terminator. He's put on all of this physical weight. He's put on all of this muscle mass. Next thing we hear, he's not on the WBC testing regime. Am I still all right, guys? If I'm wrong, please correct me. Next thing we know, he's not on the WBC testing regime, right? Then he has to explain. Oh, do you remember that? When he had to explain why he's not part of the WBC testing. Here we go. Not enlisted. He wasn't enlisted in the WBC testing. So let's have a look at the shortcuts here. only got on TV because his dad's name was Nigel Benn, right? Next minute, he getting beaten up by Journeyman on Sky Next Gen in York Hall. Next minute, he disappears. He comes back. He puts on a ton of muscle. Next minute, we find out that in addition to his obvious change in physique, yeah, he no longer appears to be enlisted in the WBC Cares testing program. So then him and Eddie Hearn have to come and explain why is he not enlisted in the WBC program. Excuse my language. Sorry, I'm doing this whole show by myself. I am the moderator, the creator, the deliverer, and the producer all in one go. And then next minute, of course, we then find out that he then fails 2 tests. So this is a guy, Conor Benn, who in my opinion, that's it, Mark Stanton. He was kicked from the WBC. He was kicked from the rankings because of the WBC enrollment. This is what makes me laugh, right? When people actually believe that Conor Benn did not have clomiphene in his system. Like, you have to be one of the most stupid individuals walking this planet. Like I said before, individuals who don't believe Conor Benn had clomiphene in his system are the reason why I don't vote anymore. You'd have to be stupid. If you look at the history of Conor Benn, and if you look at the history of events behind him, again, yeah, goes away after a difficult fight, comes back, puts on a shit ton of muscle mass. Next minute, we find out he's not enrolled in a WBC testing plan, and then shortly after that, he starts failing tests. I mean, look, listen, I'm not saying Conor Benn's a drug cheat. I'm just saying, in my opinion, that timeline speaks for itself. So Eddie Hearn is the man, yeah, who basically put his entire reputation on the line for this. And I said at the time, and I said all along, yeah, Eddie Hearn would have to be a complete fucking idiot to put his entire reputation and the reputation of his father, Barry Hearn, on the line for an individual who, in my opinion, it's so obvious what had happened with that Conor Benn situation. I mean, if you look at during the time, right, when Ben failed those tests. I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember when when Conor Benn's story was changing every fucking week? Conor Benn's story was changing every week. 1 minute it was eggs, and then he didn't say it was eggs, and then next minute he said he implied it was a stitch up by the British Boxing Board of Control because they had some kind of beef with his father, and he said he was never gonna get a board license again. And he didn't ever want to fight under the British Boxing Board of Control again. And then next minute he changed his story, and he had no problem with the British Boxing Board of Control, and he was willing to do a full and thorough investigation. And then we had the fucking 700-page document which nobody got to see, and just the whole thing was an absolute fucking joke from top to bottom. It was just one of the most unbelievable stories I think I've ever heard in my life. And I can't believe that, again, and I said this at the time, I can't believe Eddie Hearn is risking his reputation, yeah, and the reputation of his company over somebody who quite obviously we know what's happened, right? But Eddie did it. I can see you guys mentioning Dr. Usman in the chat. Where's Dr. Usman here? We've got to be careful. But someone here is saying that Dr. Usman Sajid was involved with Conor Benn. I've got to be careful what I say because the lawyers might be on the line. But let me put it this way. We have seen photos of Dr. Usman with Conor Benn. In fact, let me see if I can get that photo while we talk. Just so the lawyers that are watching, waiting to sue me, yeah, at any given moment can... Oh, here we go. Just so the lawyers that are willing to sue me at any given moment know that I'm not making this up. Here we go, look. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful, all right? Because it's not right to accuse people of stuff like this without the relevant evidence. But with all due fucking respect, how much more fucking evidence do you fucking need? This here, look. If we was in a court of law, yeah? No, let me say that again. If we was on judge duty, right? Press 7 if you agree with me. Press 8 if you disagree. If we was on judge duty, yeah, and you heard the Conor Benn timeline like I just told you, and then I followed up with this picture of Conor Benn and Dr. Usman Sajid, I mean, what would it? They would just go, case closed. That's it. I mean, Conor Benn would be doing a cool 10, 15 years, wouldn't he? Case closed. That picture would just seal the deal. I mean, It's just ridiculous. So anyway, to get to the point, Eddie Hearn done put his whole entire business on the line, yeah? I mean, it was embarrassing. Oh, it's Michael Thompson. Big up Michael Thompson. He says Conor Benn used Matchroom for their lawyers and their money and then fucked off. Let me tell you something right now. I can't wait to hear what Eddie Hearn has to say about this man. And I also can't wait to hear what Eddie Hearn has to say about his drug test. Because, you know, I just think, you know, like I said before, we all know Eddie Hearn was protecting his investment before. But, well, now there's no need to protect his investment anymore. And by the way, all those people, look, remember this, look at this. Remember this, Simon Jordan and Eddie Hearn going head to head. Oi, there's people out there who still think, yeah, that Eddie Hearn beat Simon Jordan. I said it at the time. I said anybody who thinks Eddie Hearn beat Simon Jordan, yeah, is absolutely, right? I would say anybody who thinks Eddie Hearn beat Simon Jordan on the basis of the argument made, I would say don't leave any crayons around these individuals. That's all I would say. I said at the time, I said if you actually listen to the substance of the arguments made by Simon Jordan and the substance of the argument made by Eddie Hearn, you'll realise that Eddie Hearn never had a pot to piss in when it came to Conor Benn. The story never added up. All right? It never added up. And I said that. But who's won now, by the way? Conor Benn Eddie Hearn or Simon Jordan? Because I tell you what, I'm not a massive fan of Simon Jordan, but Simon Jordan's the one with his integrity intact. Eddie Hearn's sitting there at the minute with the proverbial egg on his face, shall we say. Anyway, let's go through your comments. Look. If it's what we think it is, right? If this is what we think it is, and Conor Benn has gone behind Eddie Hearn's back and done this deal, it's one of the biggest screw jobs in British boxing that we've seen in many a year. I have to say, it takes a lot to make me feel sorry for Eddie Hearn, right? It does. It takes a lot to make me feel sorry for that individual. But I tell you now, if it's true that he has gone behind his back and that Matchroom, and like I said before, the indications are that Matchroom Boxing had no idea this was fucking going on. If they did have an idea this was going on, why when they released the news for their 5-year historic contract extension with DAZN, did they have Conor Benn on a poster? That tells me that they didn't think he was going to go, but I could be wrong. Chuck says, I can't wait to hear what Tony Bellew will have to say. Well, it's going to be interesting now, isn't it? And let me tell you something right now, right? It's quite clear as well. I tell you who else has screwed over Eddie Hearn as well, right? Turki Alalshikh. Press 7 if you agree with me on that, and press 8 if you disagree with me. We've got about 85 in here at the chat at the minute. If you could please find it in your hearts to hit the like button, I'd be very grateful. On this channel, you'll notice I don't super chat. The reason why I don't super chat you guys is because at the minute I have this thing called a job, right? I'm not one of these 40-year-old boxing YouTube content creators who sort of, you know, doesn't know when to hang it up, doesn't know when to call it a day. It's, you know, trying to make a full-time living and a full-time career out of this, right? All right. So just to say, if you could please find it in your heart to hit the like button and give me a few likes, I would very much appreciate it. But it's quite clear to me, getting back to the point here, that it's not just Conor Benn who stuck the knife in Eddie Hearn, it's Turki Alalshikh. It's Turki Alalshikh. Does any of you guys at the moment still believe that Eddie Hearn has any control over Anthony Joshua? Right now. Do you honestly believe he's got any control over Anthony Joshua? The man can't even control Conor Benn. And you believe he's got control over Anthony Joshua where Anthony Joshua fights. By the way, he's coming out today saying the plan is to send AJ out for Tyson Fury in 2027. Let me tell you something about Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn doesn't know what the fuck the plan is for Anthony Joshua. The plan for Anthony Joshua, yeah, will be delivered to Eddie Hearn by his promoter, Turki Alalshikh. When Turkey's ready to bring Anthony Joshua back, he'll bring Anthony Joshua back. And he'll let Eddie Hearn know. Right about the same time, we all find out. He has no fucking clue. Matchroom could be in a bit of trouble here. Mark H is saying, is Hearn done in boxing? I think Matchroom could be in a spot of bother. I mean, the good thing for Matchroom is, to be honest, other than AJ and Ben, they don't really have anybody that really, you know, fucking moves the needle, do they? Let's be fucking honest. They have some fantastic fighters. If you're one of those fucking wanksters who likes to spend your time, just obsessing over pound for pound lists, if you're one of these idiots that likes to obsess over pound for pound lists, then yes, they've got some very, very great fighters. They've got some top world-class fighters, and they've got world champions. But in terms of actual needle movers at Matchroom, I'm talking about guys that are going to make you pay for pay-per-view. Guys that are going to cross over to the average casual fan, right? Who do they have, right? Conor Benn, Anthony Joshua. Conor Benn's out. Anthony Joshua's all but out. Let's be honest. He's going to be fighting on Netflix. And if you look at the rest of them, like I said before, Bam Rodriguez is a phenomenal fighter. Would you say Bam Rodriguez is a casual's dream? I personally haven't seen any evidence to suggest that he is. Would you say that people in the office turn up in the morning and say, oh, Ultra, are you going to be watching Jaron Ennis fight for the title tonight? Does that make sense what I'm saying? The actual draws. We're talking about the actual guys that are out there that are capable of putting bums on. Mark Stanton said Johnny Fisher. It's funny you say Johnny Fisher because Eddie Hearn said this week that Johnny Fisher had a life-changing offer from Saudi Arabia this week. Funnily enough, Eddie Hearn did say that Johnny Fisher had a life-changing offer from Saudi Arabia. I mean, you probably imagine that Johnny Fisher would be the cheapest fighter ever to basically steal from Matchroom. I mean, you just promise him a couple of fucking sweet and sour, pork balls. Just promise his dad. What's it, Big John Fisher? I mean, if you just write in the contract that Big John Fisher gets access to fucking Riyadh's best unlimited Chinese buffet, I'm sure Big John Fisher would even forge his son's signature on the fucking Zuffa contract just to get at that buffet. So if Turki Alalshikh really does want Johnny Fisher, it'd probably get him within about 5 fucking seconds. I mean, Matchroom are under siege in my opinion. And it's not the same as Frank. I've been saying it for a while. We all know that Frank Warren has fallen out with Turki Alalshikh because Frank Warren isn't going for this bullshit. Right? We all know that Frank Warren and Turki Alalshikh has fallen out because Frank Warren ain't got... Listen, let me tell you something about Frank Warren. Regardless of what you think about it, let me show you something right now about Frank Warren. Frank Warren just came out of open heart surgery, yeah? What was it? Was it about a year ago? Was it before Fury and Usyk? But it was relatively recently, yeah? Frank Warren came out of open heart surgery, right? Do you think that Frank Warren went under the table, had his chest opened up, and literally let him operate on his heart so that he could live another 10, 15 years? Do you think Frank Warren went through all of that, yeah, and put his life on the line so that we could all sit and pretend that this fucking piece of shit is a real title? Press 9 in the chat if you agree with me, and 10 in the chat if you disagree with me. Do you think Frank Warren went through open heart fucking surgery and put his life on the fucking line, literally on the operating table, so that he could come back to boxing and pretend that this is some kind of fucking legitimate world title in boxing? This absolute piece of garbage they call the Zuffa Boxing Championship. Look at the absolute state of this thing. I wouldn't be seen fucking dead with this. This is supposed to be the richest fucking man in boxing. You couldn't come up with a better design than this. Am I right or am I wrong? Like, listen, WCW, TNA had a better looking belt. And them guys were getting paid in fucking coupons to wrestle for TNA. Fucking Jeff Jarrett and AJ Styles and fucking TNA in 2005 had a better looking belt. They're paying those guys in fucking food stamps. This guy's oil rich. This man, Turki Alalshikh, oil rich. This is the best belt that he can come up with. Look at the fucking state of... Just look. Let me say it another way. Regardless of what you think of me, you might not like me. I'm going to be honest with you right now. If you walked into Matalan and you saw this, a smaller version of this in Matalan, would you pay for it? Does it look prestigious in any way, shape or form? You've got to have gold on it, haven't you? have the most prestigious belt in boxing, bought with £100 million of oil money, and it's got no gold on it. It looks like one of them fucking spinning rim type alloys that you see in the hood. Me putting spinning rims. It looks like one of them alloys that them fucking broke boys in the hood be fucking putting on their fucking... Look. This is what it's made of. In fact, forget that. I'll tell you the exact material it was made of. It's made from this, mate. See all that fucking silver on that garbage Zuffa belt? Tell you where that's come from. I could make the same fucking belt tomorrow. Here you go. I could make exactly the same belt as that tomorrow. Here you go. I just put this, look. It's not a problem. I just melt a few of these. It's not a problem. I just melt a few of these things. I can make my own fucking Zuffa belt. It's an absolute disgrace to boxing. So Frank Warren is too old to play along with this bullshit. That's the reality. Frank Warren too old. Frank Warren telling Turki Alalshikh, listen, Turki, I just got off the operating table. The doctors told me there was a 50-50 chance I might not see tomorrow. But you know what, Turki? They fixed my heart. I've got 10 years left in the sport of boxing. I've got 10 years left to make Moses Itauma a world champion. I've got 10 years left to get the heavyweight championship of the world back on Tyson Fury. I've got 10 years left to cement my legacy as the greatest promoter in the history of boxing. I can't sit here and pretend, Turki. As much as I love you, Turki, and I want to hold your hand, Turki, and steal your money and tell you that all your ideas are really good, Turki, when they're absolutely fucking shite, Turki. When all your ideas, Turki, are absolute garbage, Turki. When all your ideas result in millions and millions and millions of pounds of lost revenue, Turki, which is why the PIF in Saudi Arabia are now tightening up their belts. But just a quick yes or no. Have you guys heard about what's going on in Saudi Arabia? You know the PIF, where all this money comes from. You know they're starting to tighten their belts now. So there's going to be less money, allegedly, coming into the sport of boxing. All these, I told you, all these days of all these British fighters going abroad and getting 6 figures for Mickey Mouse fights, those days are coming to an end, you know. Because the Saudis are starting to realise, do you know what? All of this stuff that we're doing, all of these sports, not just boxing, but all of these sports that we're ploughing our money into. Do you remember the situation with Cristiano Ronaldo going on strike in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks ago? Yeah? Cristiano Ronaldo going on strike because the PIF wouldn't invest in his football team and wasn't willing to plough all the money that they promised to plough into his football team. The belts are getting tightened up. So anyway, Frank Warren don't want to play around with Turki Alalshikh. You can tell him that this bullshit idea he's got is a good idea. So that's why they've fallen out. But see, Eddie Hearn thought he could suck at the teat. The difference between Frank and Eddie is that Frank still has the majority of the world's best heavyweights in his stable. And we'll go through Eddie Hearn's stable in a minute. And Eddie Hearn doesn't. That's the problem. That's the big problem there. Eddie Hearn doesn't have Ajit Kabayel, who in my opinion is the best heavyweight in the world, not named Usyk. Eddie Hearn has, Turki Alalshikh does not have Ajit Kabayel. Turki Alalshikh does not have Moses Itauma, who most people think will go on to rule the heavyweight division, right? He doesn't have him, right? Tyson Fury, he tried to split up Frank and Tyson Fury. Just quickly press one if you're with me, and I'll get back onto the topic in a minute, right? Did you notice that Frank Warren was at the press conference for Fury and for Fury and Makhmudov? Did you guys notice that? Frank Warren, who has nothing to do with that promotion. Frank Warren, who has absolutely nothing to do with that promotion. And you know what? He sat at the top table alongside Tyson Fury, despite the fact that that's really a Turki Alalshikh fight. But you know why that's happened? The reason why that's happened is because Tyson Fury's not a fucking moron. Tyson Fury says, nah, I'm going to stick with the man who backed me when I was 400 pounds, failed a drugs test, and everybody said I was finished in the sport of boxing. That's why Frank Warren was at the top table. That's why Frank Warren's at the top table. Can you see the difference? That's why Frank Warren's at the top table, even though he's got nothing to do with his fight. He's at the top table because Tyson Fury wants him at the top table. He wants him there and he wants him involved. Eddie Hearn doesn't have that on his side. Eddie Hearn doesn't have that level of loyalty on his side. And as a result, he is going to be in big trouble if Dana White and Turki Alalshikh decide to start picking off the rest of his fighters. Look, I'm just telling you how it is, Azim. I'm just telling you how it is. There's a reason why Frank Warren's there. Do you know what? Do people actually know the story? Do people know about how Tyson Fury was in a contract with Mick Hennessy and Frank Warren paid out his contract? Press 3 if you're aware of that story. That's how much Frank Warren believed in Tyson Fury. The man was stuck in a contract with Mick Hennessy that he couldn't get out of. Frank Warren paid for the lawyers and got him out of that deal. That was part of Frank Warren had to go through so many hoops to get this man on BT Sport. It was unbelievable. He had to go through about a good 10 or 15 hoops. It wasn't just go and meet Tyson and sign him. He had to get him out of the contract with Mick Hennessy. That's the reason, by the way, that Tyson and Peter Fury no longer speak. Yeah? That's the reason why Tyson Fury and Peter Fury no longer speak to each other. Because Tyson was fucking knee deep in with Mick Hennessy and he didn't want to end up like Huey Fury fighting at the fucking Bolton White's hotel. Frank had to get the lawyers to get him out of that. And this is when Tyson was 400 pounds and couldn't box a lick. That's how much Frank believed in him. 400 pounds off a drugs test, couldn't box a lick. Was tied up in a contract with Hennessy. Frank put his entire deal with BT was predicated on Fury. Some others said BT didn't want him. Fury had to convince. It's all true. It's all true. Frank had to put his whole reputation on the line with BT and say, look, just trust me on this one. He's going to do it. So that's why he's at the top table. Do you know why he's at the top table? I'm not saying Frank Warren's perfect, right? At all. I'm not saying Frank Warren's never screwed anybody over. I'm just saying, sometimes in life, not all the time, but sometimes in life, when you do right by people, people do right by you. That's why he's at the top table. But anyway, Conor Benn has done Eddie Hearn like an absolute kipper. We'll go through Matchroom Stable. Give me your comments in a minute. What are you guys thinking? What are you guys feeling? It's going to go through all of your comments right now. For me, like I said before, I'll tell you how it is. I think this is a money grab from Conor Benn. I think that Conor Benn might have spent millions in legal fees. Are you guys with me on this or not? I could be completely wrong. I'm just putting stuff up my ass here. But I just can't shake the feeling. Because if you look at Conor Benn and the way he's fighting, and obviously boxing is you're a prize fighter. You have to fight for money and things. But just the way he was so desperate for the Eubank fight, and then the way he was so desperate for the Eubank rematch and all these kind of things and everything like that. To me, my suspicion about Conor Benn, is that Conor Benn spent millions in legal fees trying to get out of what he had to get out of. And I think that, like I said before, he needs to make up for lost time in the money sense. Do you guys agree with me or don't disagree with me? So I think Conor Benn's decision making at this moment in time is heavily predicated towards money. And obviously fighters go for the most money, but what I'm trying to say is maybe he needs the money a bit more than we think. I could be wrong about that, but maybe his lifestyle's not as comfortable as what we think. Like, I could be completely wrong, but I reckon he must have ploughed fucking millions into that whole legal saga. I'm not going to go through it, but what happened with the Conor Benn legal cases we can see here. Conor Benn claimed, look at this, this is how it ended. Conor Benn claims he has been cleared of wrongdoing by the NADP in the end of a saga which began in 2022. I mean, he spent fucking the best part of 2 and 3 years. I mean, it was so bad. Don't forget, it was so bad that UCAD repeatedly appealed the decisions. Do you guys remember? Like UCAD, who normally just want to turn a blind eye to drug cheats, right? Not saying Conor Benn's a drug cheat. I'm just saying UCAD are known to take a blind eye to drug cheats, right? And let them carry on. UCAD didn't want to let this go. That's how bad Conor Benn's situation was. UCAD did not want to let this go because the precedents that it set was so fucking dangerous. The precedents that we believe it may have set is that if you're a UK boxer and you fail a VADA test on UK soil, then UCAD can't hold you accountable. Now, we don't know that for sure, but that's what we think the precedent could be now, or could have been thanks to Conor Benn. Because that's what we believe Conor Benn used to get out of serving a long time ban. That's what we believe. We believe that Conor Benn's lawyers argued that UCAD did not have the right to sanction him because he failed a VADA test and not a UCAD test. And I believe his lawyer's argument was that UCAD only had the right to sanction Conor Benn if he broke UCAD rules. And I believe their argument was that he didn't break the UCAD rules because he didn't fail a UCAD test. And I believe that is the argument, the primary argument that was presented to the National Anti-Doping Panel. This is my belief. I could be wrong. Just making it clear. This is my belief. I believe that was the core of the argument that was put forward to the National Anti-Doping Panel. And I believe that the National Anti-Doping Panel then ruled that UCAD could not sanction him. They could not sanction him anymore, and that the British Boxing Board of Control could not suspend his license any longer. And they had to let him box. And then he has gone and told everybody that he's been, quote unquote, cleared of all wrongdoing. And Eddie fucking stood there like a muppet. All of the fucking stories about eggs. Remember all that shit? What was it? Eggs? He consumed too many eggs. I think that's what was put in the WBC report that exonerated him. Am I correct or am I wrong? Am I wrong about that or am I right? In the WBC report that exonerated Conor Benn and allowed him to be reinstated back into the rankings or whatever the fuck those idiots are doing, right? I believe they mentioned that intake of eggs has been shown in studies to cause false positives with clomiphene in dope tests. I mean, this is the absolute levels of stupidity that these idiots went through to defend him. I have to be honest with you and say this. Let's go look at Matchroom Stable. And look at this. This is so funny. I mean, Eddie Hearn is now, look. How ironic is this? Look. Look at this on the screen right now. Eddie Hearn telling Dana White, you're fucked. No, let me tell you something right now, Eddie Hearn. You're fucked. Listen, this is what I'm saying. Look, I don't like Dana White. Okay, I'm not a fan of Dana White. But let me tell you something about Dana White, yeah? Dana White is a mob boss. Dana White isn't a silver-spooned... Look, Dana White is off the street. That's the bottom line of what we're talking about with Dana White. Dana White is a mob boss. The dude is... He's not... Look, let me say it another way, right? Should we just quickly show you? Guys... Do you mind if I just show you Eddie Hearn's school? Just so you, because I just don't think people understand what they're dealing with. Like, I don't think people understand the levels here. Right, let me show you Eddie Hearn now. So that you understand now the difference between a guy who talks about doing stuff, aka Eddie Hearn, and a guy who actually makes moves, aka Dana White. I'm going to show you the difference now between a mob boss and this dude here, and somebody who got into boxing because their dad was rich. Now listen, let me tell you something here, yeah. Eddie Hearn telling Dana White, "You're fucked." Let me show you Eddie Hearn, right? This is the real Eddie Hearn. There you go. Can you see him here? There you go. There's your man in boarding school with a nice grin on his face doing PE. All right. Listen, bro, you're not from that life. Do you understand? Stop the BS. Stop making up the stories. You weren't a top boxer. You weren't a top amateur boxer. Stop telling the fucking stories about how you were 5-0 at Billikerate Boxing Club and you were going around knocking people out in the amateurs. You weren't knocking anybody out in the amateurs. Nobody's ever seen your amateur, your England boxing medical card. Till this day, nobody's ever seen your England medical boxing card. Nobody's ever seen any footage of you fighting. Stop pretending that you are something that you're not. You are not from that life. I'm going to say it one more time. You're a nice boy. You're a nice kid. You had a rich dad and you went to a nice school with Jodie Marsh. That's simple, bro. You're not from the streets. You're not from that life. You're not cut from that cloth. The first time Eddie Hearn ever saw a black man in his life is probably when he signed Audley Harrison back in the 2000s. That's the first time. That's probably the first time Eddie Hearn ever had a conversation with a black man in his whole life. When he signed Audley Harrison back in the, remember, don't forget, that's how Eddie Hearn started his promotional career. Press 1 if you remember. Press 2 if you don't remember. Press 1 if you remember how Eddie Hearn started his promotional career. Remember, Eddie Hearn started his promotional career by convincing everybody that Audley Harrison was going to be world heavyweight champion. Am I right? Am I wrong? I remember it. I remember when this guy first started on Sky Sports back in the 2000s. Somebody talking about, oh yeah, Eubank Senior don't count. Eubank Senior don't count. But you get my point. Just stop the act, man. Stop the act. You're not built like that. You're not a Dana White. You're not. Dana White doesn't talk. Dana White isn't going to go, on Seconds Out, IFL TV. You're not going to see, Dana White Raw on IFL TV, where he's going to spend an hour fucking sitting there talking about Watsits and Quavers with Kugan Cassius. Dana White gets things done. Would you agree with me in the chat, yes or no? That's how I see it. Dana White isn't a talker. He's a doer. That's why this guy's on Seconds Out telling Dana White he's fucked. And less than 24 hours later, the second biggest name in his whole stable just got pinched right from under his nose. Am I right? Am I wrong? Who would you rather be? Would you rather be this man talking on fucking YouTube? Or would you rather be Dana White who just pinched his second hottest fighter from under his nose? And he never had a fucking clue what was going on. I mean, look. There are levels to this game of boxing, man. Let's have a look at Matchroom Stable. Sharon saying Eddie... Oh, dear. I can't say that. Eddie last saw a black man when his dad's butler dropped him off at boarding school. Let's have a look. Taylor Fax says Eddie backtracked and said he's just... Well, he's never joking, is he? He's very passive-aggressive. Listen, it is what it is. Game, is this true? Game says, remember when Hearn wanted to start a Matchroom belt? I remember that. Do you guys remember that? He's slagging off Dana White, yeah? He's slagging off Dana White for the Zuffa belt. But I remember about a good 5-6 years ago when there was talk about Matchroom title. Do you guys remember that? Do you remember that talk of that Matchroom title? When they were flying high about 10 years ago. I can't remember when it was. It might have been when AJ was like AJ was like unified champion. They was talking about a Matchroom title. But all of a sudden, yeah, when Dana White does it, all of a sudden we got to protect the sanctity of boxing. Paul Rafferty says on Conor Benn, this is Paul Rafferty, drugs cheat end of after Eddie lied and lied and lied to keep the original fight versus Eubank. Ben is utter cheating scum. I mean, we all know how far Eddie Hearn went for Conor Benn. Like I said before, Eddie Hearn found out the week of the fight, at the latest, that Conor Benn had failed multiple drugs tests. Or he found out that he failed a drugs test. And from all accounts that were given, Eddie Hearn was very, very happy to allow Chris Eubank Jr. to get into the ring on a Matchroom boxing promotion and fight a man who had just failed a fucking dope test. Again, we saw the same thing with Dillian Whyte and Oscar Rivas. Michael Thompson says the amount of time Hearn spent defending him for a year on everyone and their mum's channel too, he must be raging. Guys, what do you think is the future? Let's have a look. I'll read all your comments out. Give me all your comments on what do you think. Do you think this is the beginning of the end of Matchroom? Let me just tell you right now. I said it on the last show. I do think it's the beginning of the end for Matchroom, but not because Conor Benn's left. I think it's the beginning of the end for Matchroom because I think they're going to sell it to the Saudis. Press 1 if you agree with me on that, or 2 if you disagree. I've said it before, right? And I've said it. I said this when Frank Warren was on Box Nation and Eddie Hearn was riding sky high. So I'm not just saying this now, right? The funniest thing about Eddie Hearn as a person is that Eddie Hearn as a promoter is very, very similar to Anthony Joshua, the fighter. They're both on top fighters. As soon as the going gets tough for either one of them, they're not the same. That's my belief. And I said this 10, 15 years ago about Eddie Hearn. I said, what will happen to Eddie Hearn is boxing's cyclical, right? You're up today, you're down tomorrow. It's cyclical. But I said the difference with Hearn is when Hearn starts taking L's and he starts going on the receiving end of things, he's going to quit. He ain't going to do what Frank Warren did. He ain't going to reinvent himself. He ain't going to sit there and take a decade-long L, right? Like Frank Warren did and get ridiculed and people say you're finishing the sport. He hasn't got the perseverance of a Frank Warren to take a decade's worth of ridicule. He doesn't have the boxing know-how of a Frank Warren to find a Daniel Dubois. Remember what Frank did? He said, do you know what I'm going to do? He said, Matchroom are taking all of these fights. Matchroom are going straight to the EIS in Sheffield, right? This is what Matchroom used to do. Matchroom are going straight to the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield. And they're signing all of these guys literally straight out of the Olympics. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to find these guys before they even get to the Olympics. That was Frank's game plan. Look at how young he got Daniel Dubois. He signed Dubois at like 17. 17. And look at the career of Dubois since. By the way, Dubois done wiped out most of Matchroom, by the way. You laugh and joke, yeah? Jarrell Miller was a Matchroom fighter, wiped out by Dubois. Anthony Joshua missed the Matchroom, literally obliterated by Daniel Dubois. Filip Hrgovic, a Matchroom fighter, wiped out by Daniel Dubois. The irony in that, yeah? If you look what Frank did, I'm just going to sign these guys and get these guys before. And look what he did. He built a Billy Joe Saunders, built an Anthony Yard, built a Daniel Dubois. He built up a Tyson Fury back from 400 pounds. He built it back up. But Eddie Hearn doesn't have it in his soul to do that. He can't. He's an on top fighter. Press 1 if you agree with me. Press 2 if you disagree. If you disagree, it's fine. But I'm just going to tell you, he doesn't have it in his heart to take an L and come back. That's my opinion on Hearn. He doesn't have it in his heart. He doesn't. He's an on top guy. And I've always said it about Eddie. When things get tough for him and when things get tough for Matchroom, and we'll go through their stable at the minute. And let me tell you something. It is tough times for Matchroom. I mean, certainly in the UK, you can make the argument about global promoting and all this shit, right? We'll talk about that another day. But I mean, when you're pushing Pat fucking Brown, look at this. When you're pushing Pat fucking Brown, think about where these guys were in 2005, Matchroom. Just think about where Matchroom were in 2005. You're pushing Pat fucking Brown and Dave Allen. Jesus, Dave Allen topping the fucking bill 6 months ago. This company is finished, man. Dave Allen and fucking Johnny Fisher topping bills. These guys were selling out fucking stadiums back in the 2000s. Press 1 if I'm right, press 2 if I'm wrong. Look at the peak of Anthony Joshua. These men were selling out stadiums. 90,000 people. AJ and Klitschko. The fucking peak of British boxing in the last 15, 20 years. Look at them now. They're pushing Pat fucking Brown. And women's boxing. Pat Brown, Dave Allen, Johnny Fisher, women's boxing. They don't have the heart to come back. They ain't got the heart in it. I promise you. They ain't got the fucking heart to take an L and come back. They ain't got it. So I think, yeah, that Hearn's going to sell up and get out of boxing. What do you guys think about that? Am I right or am I wrong? That's my... If you can hit the like button. We've got about 10, 15 more minutes to go. I'll go through some more comments and answer your questions. But what do you guys think about where Conor Benn leaves Matchroom stable? Well, look at their stable. Look at this. Katie Taylor, finished. Can we agree with that? Katie Taylor, great career, coming towards the end of her career. You know, I've got my opinions on Katie Taylor and whether she's a big draw, but I'm not going to fight that fight right now. Listen, Jesse Rodriguez is a world level fighter. He's a top fighter. Jesse Rodriguez, great fighter. Great fighter. Does he move the needle? Does super flyweight boxing move the needle? Dimitri Bivol. Matchroom. I'll believe it when I see it. Let's see what happens when Turki Alalshikh offers Dimitri Bivol a nice deal. Let's see if he's still a Matchroom fighter then. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But again, I don't believe Dimitri Bivol is a needle mover. Shaka Stevenson, is he even signed to Matchroom? Sorry, can somebody tell me? I thought Shaka left Matchroom like ages ago. Am I right or am I wrong about that? Can someone let me know if Shaka Stevenson is still with Matchroom? I thought he left. Maybe I haven't been following. Dalton Smith, world champion, put in one of the best performances of the year against Subra Matias. Does Dalton Smith move the needle? No. Are we just being honest? I'm talking about people that are going to get you to buy pay-per-view. I'm not talking about trade fights. I'm not talking about nerd fights. Does that make sense? I'm not talking about nerd fights. I'm talking about you go into the office on a Friday evening, or excuse me, you go into the office on a Friday morning, people are going, hey, oi, are you going to watch this Dalton Smith fight? Who do you think's going to win? Dalton Smith or what? It's never going to happen, all right? Josh Kelly, it's never going to happen. Lewis Crocker, no comment on Lewis Crocker. But can you see, look at this, look. We're getting thin, aren't we? Am I lying or am I not lying? We are getting a bit thin on the ground. Look, take Conor Benn off that. Look, should I take Conor Benn off? Let me do Matchroom a favour here. Matchroom still got Conor Benn on the fucking website. Let me take Conor Benn off that website and do Matchroom a favour. 1 second. Just give me a sec, please. Let me do Matchroom a favour there. Let me take Conor Benn off that website. What are they talking about? Jesus Christ, what am I doing here? Try that again. Looks like I've lost my magic here. There we go. Sorry about that. Never died. There you go. Let me do Matchroom a favour and move fucking Conor Benn off that website because he ain't with Matchroom no more. Let me read your comments. Shaka Stevenson is currently working with promoter Lou DiBella. I've got to be careful what I say here. Otherwise, I'm going to get sued. All I would say is this, Shaka, if you're listening, count every penny. Lou DiBella, fuck me. Let me tell you something. I'd have 5 accountants. Lou DiBella is ever my promoter. I'd have 5 accountants checking my paychecks, mate. Abso-fucking-lutely. Captain Casual says, Matchroom are on Skid Row. Not a fan, but an interesting interview with Boxing King Media where he basically inadvertently says he was clueless about business when he signed the $1 billion fraud with DAZN. Chuck says, Eddie's got no excuse if Ben doesn't fight Josh Kelly. Now the tables are turned. I've always said Josh Kelly beats Conor Benn. Let me rephrase that. I've always said that Josh Kelly beats a clean Conor Benn. I've been saying that 10 years. 10 years I've been saying that. Josh Kelly beats a clean Conor Benn. 100%. In my opinion. Let's have a look here. Some Mothers says that Allen versus Fisher 3 incoming and AJ versus White to save the ship. AJ, listen, let me tell you this. AJ's a Turki Alalshikh, man. He's a Turki Alalshikh. Anyway, let's get back to the story and wrap up, all right? We're not going anywhere yet. We've got 100 people here. Please hit the like button, all right? Let's just wrap up on this news. So let's go back to the basics. Conor Benn has signed a deal with Zuffa Boxing, all right? I don't know who Zuffa Boxing have signed. I don't know what fights that Zuffa Boxing can make. Can you guys tell me what fights or fighters can Zuffa Boxing match Conor Benn up with? I'd like to know, because I don't really pay much attention to Zuffa Boxing at all. But Zuffa Boxing have signed with Conor Benn, and here is Conor Benn. And you know what? If you just give me a sec, I think we can probably get the sound on this. Just give me 1 second, okay? I think we can probably get the sound on this if you just give me uno memento. I can't do it because it's oh, I can if I turn this on. 1 second. Right. Can you guys press 1 if you can hear the sound on this? All right. I'm not sure if you can, but just press 1 if you can hear the sound. This is Conor Benn joining Zuffa Boxing.
Yes, people, what's happening? Just finished training, getting hard graft here at the UFC facility. What a facility. And more importantly, I'm excited about his future. Let's go. Yes, people, what's happening? Just finished training, getting hard graft here at the UFC facility. What a facility. And more importantly, I'm excited about his future. Let's go.
All right, so you guys are wondering it so you can all hear me. So there you go. You've seen it there. He does look. He actually looks like David Haye's son, Cassius, by the way. If you look at Cassius Haye, he looks just like... 1 second. I don't want to take the piss here. I'll get there in a minute. I need to find the right photo of him. Maybe... Hold on. Maybe... Nah. I've got it slightly wrong. I was thinking about this. I was thinking, Jesus Christ, he does look a bit like David Haye's son, Cassius. Look. But I got it wrong. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe that was a step too far. Anyway, Conor Benn has done shafted. Eddie Hearn in the back. Eddie Hearn basically has spent the last 2 years pretending, yeah? All right? If you're just new and joining us to the show, I'll quickly recap for you. Eddie Hearn has spent the last 2 years pretending that he had no idea how they found clomiphene in 2 of this man's drug tests, right? So Eddie Hearn has basically spent the last 2 years going on a nationwide media tour. He put his own reputation on the line. He put the reputation of his father on the line and the reputation of his company on the line. Some people in the chat are speculating that he may have even helped out Conor Benn legally, yeah, in terms of getting him representation or helping him with representation to quote unquote clear his name. All right. Most people in boxing believe that Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn were absolutely inseparable. And that, you know, Eddie Hearn is one of the main reasons why Conor Benn is even still boxing right now. Many people believe that without Matchroom backing and without the Matchroom media campaign and we're sort of without the might of the Matchroom media machine, basically banging the Conor Benn is clear drum, yeah, that Conor Benn would not be boxing anymore. And you know what, to be fair, that's actually a good point. You know, if Conor Benn wasn't boxing for Matchroom, if Conor Benn was on a smaller promotion, so if Conor Benn was on Izzy Ahmed, what's that fucking promotion that Izzy Ahmed runs? Is it called GBH? Guys in the chat, what's that fucking bullshit that Izzy Ahmed's running? Or Izzy Azif, sorry. What's it called? GBH Boxing. Izzy Azif. What's that fucking garbage called? GBM. Let me go to their website, yeah? So if Conor Benn was on GBM Boxing, yeah, boxing in the Bolton White's Hotel, right? Boxing scrubs in a Bolton White's Hotel. Would he have got away with not serving a ban? The answer's probably not, is it? Do you know what I mean? What do you guys think? Oh, that's a great point from Mark Stanton. Is Conor Benn now leaving the Matchroom gym? Is he leaving Tony? I can't believe I didn't even think about that. Has Tony Sims lost his trade? And you know what? I will say this. Even though I think Tony Sims ain't a great coach, right? And listen, I've never seen I haven't seen Tony Sims per se, yeah? But I've seen Conor Benn's bag work. And I've seen some of the things that Tony Sims has him doing in the gym. And from a technical perspective, it don't look good. Like, we'll talk about it another time, but I've seen some videos of Tony Sims in the gym with Conor Benn, and I've seen him supervising Conor Benn on the bag work, yeah? on the heavy bag, and you can see Conor Benn making some of the most obvious ABC 1, 2, 3 flaws in the sport of boxing. Stuff that if you went into any amateur boxing gym and did in your first, second, or third week, a coach would actually pick you up and say, "Why are you doing that?" Right? And fucking Tony Sims just sits there and watches him make the same mistakes. So I ain't a big fan of Tony Sims as a coach, right? I also don't think Daniel Dubois is a big fan of Tony Sims either, which is why he went in that gym. He saw what was going on, and after about 2 weeks, Daniel Dubois said, "Fuck me, I've got to get out of here." Daniel Dubois spent 2 weeks in that Tony Sims gym, and he was like, "Shit, I need to get out of here, man. I can't win shit in this gym." Am I lying? Am I not lying? Dubois spent about 2 weeks in that gym. He was like, "Nah, I can't do it, you know. I ain't gonna win no world title being in this fucking gym. This gym's mad. Let me go back to Don Charles." I ain't gonna win nothing under this Tony Sims, man. Jesus Christ, I've got a short career. I just beat AJ 2 fights ago. I just fucking beat AJ. Jesus Christ, let me go back to Don Charles again. So Tony Sims right now, innit? Tony Sims ain't having the greatest of fucking times, is it? So yeah, you probably would assume that he is leaving the Matchroom gym, right? Because don't forget, Tony Sims is on the record as saying he is loyal to Eddie Hearn and he only trains Matchroom fighters. Obviously, he then broke that promise to go and train Daniel Dubois, but we'll see if he keeps his promise again with Conor Benn. But yeah, Conor Benn's training at the UFC facility, which makes sense, right? Because one of the biggest draws, right, signing for Zuffa is that when you sign for Zuffa, you get all this stuff for free, right? Press 1 if I'm right, press 2 if I'm wrong. Isn't that like one of the biggest draws of why a fighter was signed for Zuffa, right?
Yes, people, what's happening?
Fighter signs for Zuffa, they get access to the UFC performance facilities, and I think you get access to all like the nutritionists and the coaches and all these kind of guys, right? And you get it for free. So like, if you want to shave the costs of a camp, like this is the place to be. Like if you want to shave some costs, yeah, off the cost of a camp can be very, very expensive. I mean, some of the elite fighters reckon they're spending a fucking £1 million on camp. Some of the absolute elite level, I'm talking elite level fighters, not the Conor Benns of this world, but some of the elite level fighters reckon they're spending like £1 million on camp. I think it was Devin Haney who said he was spending like £1 million, right? When he told up on like the massages, like all of the like the fucking the PTs, he's got all these people on call at his beck and call at any given time. Yeah, I think it was Haney and people. It says like it cost you close to fucking $1 million. So being in the UFC performance facility and getting a lot of this stuff for free at your will, again, it's a nice little earner. It's a nice little earner. No question about it. Is Ben gonna fight at Clownweight? I don't know who Conor Benn's gonna fight, and I don't know I don't know who Zuffa have for him to fight. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I'll be honest with you, I'm not paying much attention to Zuffa. I'm gonna be 100% honest. They don't have anybody signed to them that makes me want to fucking watch, and they'll never have anybody signed to them that's gonna make me recognize this piece of shit as a fucking legitimate world championship. I don't give a fuck. And this is going to be let me quickly say this. This is going to be the biggest fucking drawback. Because I know a lot of people think Zuffa's going to take over and the WBC and all this are going to go out of business. Press yes in the chat if you agree with me and say no in the chat if you disagree with me. The bottom line of it is this, and this is what it comes down to, in my opinion. This is why I'm not convinced Zuffa boxing will take over. If you go into any amateur boxing gym in the country right now, I was in a gym on Tuesday, yeah, right. I just hit the bag. I'm not a fighter. I'm a 40-year-old old man who couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag, yeah. All right. So I was in the ABC the other day, right. None of these fighters dream about this. None of them. None of these fighters know what this is, and none of the fighters want to know what this is, and that is a big, big deal. That's a big deal. To me, that's a big deal. Like, money is hugely important. Of course, money is important. But at some point, and again, I'll say this, we've seen this play out in the golfing situation between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf, right? We've seen the same thing happen. At the end of the day, golfers were offered a shit tons of money, but they wanted to play the majors, right? Golfers were offered shit ton of money, right, to go and play in LIV golf, but they wanted to play in the majors. They wanted to play the Masters, PJ, the US PGA, the US Open, PGA Championship, whatever. That's what they wanted to play, right? I think you're going to see exactly the same thing in boxing. Fighters are going to want to win the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO. They're not going to want to win this. Maybe after they're done and they want a cash out belt, different story. Does that make sense? But ultimately, for a fighter to consider themselves a world champion, and a lot of fighters are in this sport to become world champion, you have to hold one of the 4 alphabet belts. What do you guys think about that? Am I right or am I wrong? That's basically what it comes down to. I know a lot of people are screaming, Zuffa's going to take over, Turki Alalshikh is going to take over. I'm here to tell you today, right? When fighters wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. and go for the 3-mile run, yeah? They're not doing the 3-mile run at 5 a.m. in the morning to win this. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And nothing can ever change that. No amount of money can ever fucking change that. You get up in the morning, yeah? And you go for a 5 a.m. run that you don't want to do. You ain't doing it for this. You see, if you have this belt, right, you're sleeping in. That's what you're doing. If you have this belt, if you're defending this fucking worthless piece of tin, you're sleeping in. I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning to defend it. 5 a.m. See, when that alarm goes off, I'm putting that thing on snooze. Oh, Ultra, you're supposed to go road running. Fuck that. I'm sleeping in. I'm going to wake up, have a cup of coffee and go get myself a McDonald's breakfast. Why would you do that, Ultra? Because I'm defending the Zuffa title. It means fuck all. It's the Zuffa title. Who gives a fuck? Go now. I tell my PT, now fuck off to McDonald's and go get me a double sausage egg McMuffin and get me a hash brown to go. Fuck being on weight. You think I'm weight cutting for this shit? Zuffa boxing champion. You think I'm going to put myself through a weight cut for this? You think I'm going to fucking go and put myself in a sauna for this? Is that what you guys think these fighters are going to do? Have you seen these fighters? Nearly half dropping dead on the scales. Their fucking eyeballs falling out of their fucking skull. No water left in their body. Fucking more water in the Sahara Desert than fucking throwing through these fighters' kidneys. You think I'm going to do that for this piece of fucking tin here? It will never happen. I'll miss weight for this belt. I'll miss training for this belt. I'll miss a day's training for this belt. You guys are laughing. You guys are making me laugh. But I'm just telling you how it is. Listen, these dumbass YouTubers don't even go to the gym. So they can't tell you nothing about this because not one of them steps into the fucking gym and does anything. All right, all they do is sit on there chatting shit about resumes. Turki Alalshikh's going to take over the sport. Trust me, I'll say it to you again. Nobody's getting up and doing road running, yeah? In the fucking cold with the fucking hoodie on, the gloves on and the mitts on for this shit here. No one's doing it because no one cares. It's going to take a generation. It's going to take a solid generation of brainwashing to get people interested in this. That's my opinion. Give me your final comments in the chat and I'll read them out. That's just the reality of it. Like, when you watch... listen, I've said it before, right? When you go into gyms today, yeah? When you go into gyms today, if you ask a lot of the youth in the gyms, like, who do you like watching in boxing, yeah? Right? You'd be surprised how many of them still watch Mike Tyson. You'd be surprised. I said it on the last show. You'd be surprised how many guys in the gym still watch Mike Tyson, still idolize Mike Tyson, still came into the sport of boxing because of Mike Tyson. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you'd be surprised. Like I said before, these internet nerds who are fucking talking about pound for pound list and what about his resume? They think, yeah, because they're so fucking stupid. They've never been in a boxing gym. They think that all of these young fighters in the gym got into boxing because of Inoue. That's what they think. They think all of these fucking 13, 14-year-olds down the gym on Tuesday night, 7:30, doing 6 rounds of skipping, 3 rounds footwork, 6 rounds bag, and then straight for conditioning, right? 2-3 times a week. They think that all these kids that are going gym, right, saw Nana Inoue on the fucking TV and said, that's it, I'm going down ABC now in the fucking cold pouring rain. That's how these fucking morons think. If you actually step in the gym, right? If you get off the internet, go outside your front door, get some fresh air, get a real job. Talk about Coogan Cassidy. Get a real job. Stop trying to make money out of boxing on YouTube. It's not going to happen. Stop trying to make a living out of being a content creator. It's not going to happen. You're 45 years old with a wife and kids. Get up off the sofa, open the front door, get some fresh air, breathe the air in, and get outside the front door and go and speak to people. Go and interact with people and step foot in the gym and actually ask the fighters, who is the reason why you decided to take up boxing? You're going to start hearing names like Mike Tyson, dude. Those are the names you're going to hear. So what I'm saying is people look up to these kind of fighters. And they look at, wow, Mike Tyson was WBC champion, man. Shit, Mike Tyson was this champion. That's what they look up to. Do you understand? They don't give a fuck about this. They don't care about this. If I walked into a gym right now in the UK and gave this to one of the youngsters and said, "Here you go, I've got this for you. I've got this for you. Zuffa boxing world champ." Straight to cash converters. That's where this belt would end up in the UK. If you took this fucking belt, if you took this piece of shit belt and I dropped this belt off in the gym, let me tell you how shit this belt off. If I left this belt in my gym, no one would even steal it, mate. It wouldn't even get stolen. Do you know how to find it? I know exactly where to find it. I just go here. Straight here. It wouldn't be a problem. Cash Converters UK. 100%. Some junkies probably traded it in for a fucking... Some junkie probably traded it in or CEX. That's where this super belt belongs, mate. Cash Converters or CEX. Mate, that's the only use for it. Crackheads take it in there, innit? Trade it in for a fucking couple of quid and get a hit. That's about the only use for this fucking belt. But these nerds on the internet are telling you that this man is going to take over the sport of boxing. I'm telling you, yeah, like right now, if I leave that belt on the gym floor in my gym, right, I know where to find that belt. I'll walk into here and I'll see it. I'll find it. CEX. I'll walk into CEX. I'll find that belt on the shelf. Someone traded it up. I'll go and go, hey, that's my belt. Where'd you find that? Oh, yeah, man. Some crackhead traded it in for an Xbox 360. What you got my fucking belt up there for? I work hard for that. Yeah, mate. Someone came and traded it in for a Nintendo Wii. It's going to take over the sport of boxing. Get off the internet. Get some fresh air. Go for a run. It's not healthy to be stuck indoors too much. Right, final comments. Final comments. Let's have a look here. Blah 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 blah. Mayweather and Tyson. Jeez. And you know what the funny thing is? It will draw numbers. Listen, people will laugh at Mayweather and Tyson, but Tyson did huge numbers on Netflix. If you look at the numbers that Tyson did, yeah, against Jake Paul on Netflix compared to like Canelo and Crawford, like fucking 3 times the numbers, I think. It's huge. Mike Tyson probably still the biggest name in boxing 30 years later. Press 1 if you agree with me, press 2 if you disagree. Listen, there's an argument that Mike Tyson probably still the biggest name in boxing. Look at the fucking views that he's drawing on Netflix compared to Canelo and Crawford. It's a different sport. Somebody said here, at least Misfits knows what it is. Like I said before, I agree with you, brother. At least Misfits knows what it is. And let me tell you something. The Misfits belt has more prestige than this belt, in my opinion. 100%. Misfits belt has more prestige than this belt. It is what it is. Right. Let's wrap it up. Right, we'll cover more of this on a future episode. We'll leave it there. Eddie Hearn. It looks like he's been shafted by Conor Benn. We need to wait and see. Let me just quickly check before we go. Has there been any news or any response from Eddie Hearn? If there is news, or if there is a response, or if there is some kind of Eddie Hearn raw, yeah, on IFL TV, I will absolutely be sure to cover that. In fact, I may even do a watch along with you and we'll watch it because it's something that I'm very, 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 very interested in. I mean, you can see the reaction here. Unbelievable reaction all across the internet from people that I've got a lot of respect for. Chris McKenna, one of the best boxing journalists this country's ever produced. There are a few things which shock me in boxing these days, but Conor Benn signing for Zuffa had me checking if it was a parody account. I mean, it's just absolutely, it's shocking. It really is shocking. Mark Hayes says, can you quickly talk about John Fury and Froch? The thing is, right, guys, I'm going to leave it up to you. Look, I've got 90 people here and I don't want to go on too long in case people leave. So it's up to you what guys want in the chat. If you want me to stay on and talk about John Fury and fucking Carl Froch, I'll do it for 5 minutes. If not, we'll come back and do it on another show. Let me know, guys, because I don't want to waste anybody's time. I mean, it's nearly been about an hour and a half here. Well, you know my opinions on John Fury anyway. Maybe we should leave it for another time. Have you joined Restore Britain yet, Ultra? No, because I'm not a Nazi. I'm just a conservative. So it's not for me. I can't join anyway because I'm black. I don't think I'm allowed to join. Yeah. So yeah, you know, it is what it is. Blah 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 blah. He will get top quality eggs with Zuffa. Abso-fucking-lutely. It is what it is. Right, guys. Look, let's leave it at that. All right. Let's leave it at that. Let's follow up tomorrow. All right. If you're interested, hit the subscribe button for me. Please hit the like button. We've got Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington live tomorrow. It's a fight that I am interested in. Let's come back tomorrow. Let's watch the boxing together. We'll try and watch the main event live, Wood and Warrington. And then after Wood and Warrington live, we will have another chat about Conor Benn going to Zuffa. And if you still want me to, we'll go through and we'll look at John Fury's call out of Carl Froch, and we'll talk about that and why John Fury is one of the most embarrassing people in the sport of boxing today. All right. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.